On June 24th, 2026, Qualcomm agreed to buy a 4-year-old software startup for roughly $3.9 billion, entirely in stock. The company barely makes any money. It doesn't manufacture a single chip. Most people outside AI infrastructure had never heard its name. The company is Modular. Its product is a programming language called Mojo, and this was never really a language acquisition. It was an attack on the single most valuable software moat in modern technology. Because right now, sitting across the table from this deal is a company worth roughly $4.5 trillion. Nvidia. Here's what most people get wrong about Nvidia. Its moat was never really the chips. It's CUDA, the software layer sitting on top of the silicon, and the millions of developers who've spent nearly 2 decades building their careers inside it. CUDA has one rule that never bends. It runs on Nvidia hardware. Full stop. Want to move that workload to an AMD card, an Intel accelerator, or a Qualcomm chip? You're rewriting it from scratch. That rule creates a very specific kind of pain, one every ML engineer knows intimately. You prototype in Python because Python is fast to write. Then you rewrite the performance-critical parts in C++ and CUDA because Python is slow to run. 2 languages, 2 skill sets, a wall in the middle of nearly every serious AI project. And everyone just calls it the 2-language problem and shrugs. Mojo's entire pitch is to erase that wall. 1 language, 1 file, from research notebook to raw GPU kernel. You've probably seen the headline stat. Mojo, up to 35,000 times faster than Python. That number is real. It comes from Modular's own Mandelbrot benchmark. But keep 2 things in your head at once. First, it's measured against naive, single-threaded, unoptimized Python, not against the tools engineers actually reach for. Second, independent comparisons against properly optimized NumPy code tell a much less dramatic story. Sometimes Mojo trails it. The 35,000 times number is a ceiling from a best-case demo, not an average Tuesday. We'll come back to what the honest performance picture actually looks like. The name attached to this bet is Chris Lattner. You've used his work today, whether you know it or not. He built LLVM. He built Clang. He built Apple's Swift. He co-created MLIR at Google, the compiler infrastructure Mojo itself is built on. And before any of that came together as Modular, he spent time leading software work on Tesla's Autopilot program. 4 foundational systems, 1 career. His co-founder is Tim Davis, and his resume is just as loaded. 7 years at Google Brain, where he co-founded TensorFlow Lite and helped build XLA and TPU infrastructure that now runs on billions of devices. This is not a garage startup. This is 2 people who spent the last decade building the compiler plumbing underneath the entire AI industry, now betting they can do it again, this time outside Google and outside Nvidia. Mojo is a superset of Python. Your existing Python is very nearly valid Mojo, but where the code gets hot, you can add static types, SIMD vectorization, and direct GPU targeting, line by line, in the same file. No second language, no porting layer. It borrows Rust's ownership model for memory safety, and it uses MLIR to compile one source file down to CPUs, Nvidia GPUs, AMD GPUs, TPUs, and custom silicon. As of this video, Mojo sits at 1.0 Beta 1, released in May 2026. The standard library has been open source since 2024. The compiler itself is still closed. Modular has committed to open sourcing it this fall. So, real, shipping, genuinely promising, and also genuinely unfinished. Mojo is the language. Max is the product that should actually worry Nvidia. Max is Modular's inference engine. It takes one containerized model and runs it unchanged on Nvidia, AMD, or Apple Silicon, speaking the same API developers already use. That's the exact thing CUDA is architecturally designed to prevent. To understand what Mojo and Max are up against, go back to 2007, CUDA's launch, almost 2 decades ago. Nvidia spent nearly 20 years since then stacking libraries on top of it. cuBLAS, cuDNN, cuTensor. thousands of hand-tuned kernels that just work out of the box. That's not a product anymore. That's a fortress. And plenty of serious, well-funded attempts have tried to breach it. AMD's ROCm, OpenAI's Triton, Intel's One API, Google's XLA, OpenCL, SYCL. Real engineering, real money, years of effort. None of them have meaningfully cracked Nvidia's market position, which still sits at somewhere around 85% of data center AI accelerators. Qualcomm isn't just a phone chip company chasing a trend. It's been pushing hard into the data center. It's announced an AI 200 inference card for 2026 with 768 gigabytes of memory and an AI 250 planned for 2027, with Meta already signed as an early server chip customer. Qualcomm has the silicon. What it never had was the software layer developers actually want to build on. That's precisely the gap Modular fills, and precisely why analysts covering the deal keep repeating the same line. Nvidia's real moat was never the GPUs. It's the rewrite cost that keeps workloads pinned to their hardware. A write once, run anywhere layer is a direct strike at that cost. So let's actually score this instead of hyping it. Raw single GPU performance today. CUDA wins, clearly. Library maturity and ecosystem depth. CUDA wins by a wide margin. Portability and freedom from vendor lock-in. That goes to Mojo and Max. Which means the honest answer is, no, Mojo is not faster than CUDA today. It was never really trying to win a speed contest. It's trying to win a choice contest. The ability to pick your hardware based on price and availability instead of being welded to one vendor. Here's the counter-argument you deserve to hear, because it's the one thing most breathless coverage of this deal leaves out. Mojo's entire value proposition depends on being hardware neutral. The moment a chipmaker owns it, that neutrality is under real pressure. Every hardware company optimizes hardest for its own silicon eventually. Vendor-neutral software foundations have a track record of quietly developing house preferences once their new owners need to differentiate. Whether Qualcomm can resist that gravity, and whether Lattner and Davis can hold the line on true portability from inside a chip company, is genuinely unresolved. This isn't a settled win for openness. It's a bet with a real failure mode. Does this actually threaten Nvidia? Not tomorrow. Millions of developers and 19 years of battle-tested libraries don't disappear because of one acquisition. But every dominant moat in tech eventually draws a serious challenger, and this is the first one in almost 20 years with real money, real compiler pedigree, and a plausible technical path behind it. 4 numbers to remember. $3.9 billion, what Qualcomm paid. 2007, CUDA's head start. 85%, Nvidia's current market share. And 1, the number of languages Mojo wants you to ever need again. Is Mojo the future? Not yet. But for the first time in 2 decades, Nvidia's moat has a credible name attached to the attack.